25 years ago I was teaching watercolour in the south of France, in Provence. We lived out in the countryside in a big house, and at one time I painted a watercolour of the house that we lived in. I also made a pen and ink drawing of the house. Now the watercolour of the house is no longer able to be shown because a couple of years ago I started some workshops in Denmark where we, if we were dissatisfied with our watercolours, we painted over the old watercolours, over the old pictures, with some new and for some strange techniques which changed the pictures completely. So I cannot show you the watercolour as it was in the original state, but you can see it here as it ended up. The techniques I used were to wet the watercolour once again, paint some colours on it while it was wet, throw salt on it, spray it with water, use a toothbrush to spray some colour on it. And the effect which I got were quite interesting. So I decided I would have a workshop with these techniques, and I told people to come with some old watercolours that they weren't interested in anymore, and we were going to do something with these watercolours. And it was quite a big success. Now this is what this video is about. I'm going to show you how I'm going to change one of my old watercolours. This one also about 25 years old. It's a Jugler. How I'm going to change this into something which is a little bit different. At the moment the image on the watercolour is quite sharp and the colours are quite distinct, but the idea is to change it so that it's a little bit more interesting, and we'll see how things progress. I thought of doing the same to this picture here. It's quite a big one, and it shows a juggler with some balls. Looks more like oranges to me, but and see what I can get out of this one. Now the picture is quite large, and I'm going to use this drawing board to fix the picture to it with tape, and then I'm going to do some strange things to it. The idea is to completely, well, perhaps not completely, but to change the sharp image that I've got on the picture at the moment into something which is a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to be wetting the paper, I'm going to be using a spray, and then I'm going to be throwing salt at it, and then I'm going to be spraying colour onto it, and it must probably get quite messy, so I can't do it in my gallery here, so I'm going to go out onto the terrace out there and see if I can do something with my picture. I hope my terrace doesn't get too covered with paint, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so let's I'm going to give it a little bit more border than I have here. If I just put the tape over the white here, then it may not hold when I wet the paper, so I'm going to give it a little bit more border all the way around. Make sure that the tape is well glued to the picture here. You don't want any water running in underneath. Now the paints I'm going to be using are watercolour paints. but they've got to come from tubes. You can't paint with big brushes and on a big piece of paper with small pens. So I'm going to be using these here watercolour paints from tubes, and I'm using Schminke. That's because that's what I work with, and I'm going to be using a plastic plate to put the colour on. And which colours will I be using? Well, I'll be using ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. I'm going to be using anything else? Well, I don't really know. So I'm looking at the colours I've got on the picture now. So, well, I've got what other colours can I use? Well, I think I should use. No, I'll stick to the two I've got: ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. Well, I'm going to start by taking a big dollop of blue colour on my brush, paint it over this area. Then I take my spray bottle I take my spray bottle The whole idea is to get some colour to run down here. Then go to the other colour. See if I can get these two to mix. Don't really know what I'm doing here, but you can't sort of plan for things like this. Yeah, I want to get some more colour to come down here and here. It's alright, all these runs are just fine. And then I take some salt. I'm going to put some salt onto my hand here. And throw it up against the some more up in this corner here. The salt has the effect of absorbing water, and if there's colour pigment dissolved in it, in the water, it absorbs that too, giving a special effect. And while the thing is still wet here, I'm going to spray a bit of blue up here. Actually here it could be a good idea. I think I shall take some burnt sienna and spray some of that on. A bit of water. And let that colour run down. I've now put the picture out in the sun so that it will dry quicker, and we'll see what happens when the salt starts taking its effect. When the salt is dried, remember to brush it off, otherwise it will continue working when the picture is hung behind glass. Well, I'm not too disappointed at the moment, but you never know what's going to happen, so we'll just have to wait. Now, it doesn't look to me as if I'm getting a very good salt effect here. The effect I was looking for is something like this. But to get this, you have to paint on white paper. So you get the white areas coming through where the salt has fallen. Here, there was already a dark colour. So, when I wetted the painting, I didn't dissolve the first colour. So the effect is there, but you can't see it because the underlying colour is dark blue. If you are interested in learning more watercolour techniques, learning them especially from me, then I can't do any better than recommend my e-book, Watercolour, a book of watercolour techniques. It's a book with 23 different chapters on how to paint watercolour. I call it learning by doing. So there are some exercises that you can try and get better by trying them. The book, it's quite cheap. It costs about $13, about €12, and if you decide that you would like to buy the e-book, then you pay direct to PayPal, and as soon as I am informed that the payment is made, then I will send you the e-book without any delay, or as soon as I can, by email. But of course you've got to have a PayPal account. If you don't, well, then there are instructions on my web page how you open an account with PayPal. Now back to the painting again. So that's something we can learn, something I can also learn. This is the first time I've tried painting something like this on a dark background, but I've tried it on lighter backgrounds and it seemed to work better. So be a little bit careful what you try this technique on. It's got to be quite a light background to get the effects you want to get. But here you can see how much more paint has come onto the picture after I started on it. It must be more than 20 years since I painted the first picture, and now the second layer of colour comes on 20 years later. Now I don't know if it's any better, but it's a technique you can try, and you never know, perhaps you get a good picture out of it. Hi.